Oh man, dude. Man. I had to come on here and turn on the camera, bro. I just finished playing Xenoblade Chronicles 1 Definitive Edition. Thank God the air conditioning turned on, bro. I was sweating. Woo! Dude. So, before we get into any spoilers, I just want to talk about a little bit of my history with this series, as well as the individuals who have been, pushing me down this road to get into this wonderful game. Shout out to my boy AJ, and shout out to Mr. X Reacts. Two individuals that, and I'll write to your reacts now. I'll always know them as Mr. X. I'll write to your reacts. These are the two individuals among many, many others that have told me to play Xenoblade in the past. And the crazy part about this is, for so many years, I'd heard of Xenoblade Chronicles. Xenoblade Chronicles, right? And I know how important that game is to so many people. That game is what FF7 is to me, to so many. Coming out on the Wii, I can't even imagine playing a game like this on the flipping Wii, son. Can't imagine me, when I had my Wii, playing that game at that age. That would have been crazy, man. It would have been insane. But I truly feel like I played at the perfect time. But what's crazy about this entire situation is, and I've told this story many times, but I'm going to tell it here now because I feel like it's very, very fitting. My first exposure to Xenoblade, or the Xeno series, was Xenoblade Chronicles X back on the Wii U. And the reason why I bought that game is because I thought it was Xenoblade Chronicles 1, right? So on the Wii U, we had my first two games were Splatoon and Smash. And I was like, man, I feel like it's time for me to buy something else on this device. And of course, Shulk had I believe just recently been added to Smash. And I found out Cloud was either already announced or was about to be announced. I think he had already been announced. And I was just in a massive JRPG mood. And I was like, you know what, man, let me play that Xenoblade Chronicles game. And I really, really enjoyed Xenoblade Chronicles X. But for so long in that game, I was like, where is the dude from Smash? Shulk. I was like, what is going on? You got this character way later on. Why did they choose that character among all the characters? Lo and behold, Xenoblade Chronicles X was not Xenoblade 1. It wasn't. And as much as I can't wait to revisit that game, because I really, really enjoyed it, like I said, back on the Wii U, that was my first exposure to Xenoblade. And after that, I went out, and when the Switch dropped, similar to what I did with Yakuza 0, where I bought that long before. Actually, I want to say, I think I was already playing Yakuza 1 when I bought Yakuza 0. And then I played it whenever I finished playing all the other ones, right? To play it in the release order. I bought Xenoblade Chronicles 2, I think it was on release day. And I remember popping it into the Switch, and I think I played like 30 minutes of it. And I don't remember what else dropped at the time, but did not come back to it. Still have not come back to it. But here we are today, with brand new context, with a new understanding. Because after I went on my Trails journey, my soul was like calling out to play Xenogears. And so at the end of 2020, the final games that I played were Cold Steel 3, Cold Steel 4, Reverie, and Xenogears to end the year. And Xenogears, as y'all know, I talked about it last year in the Rogers Bay stream for our top 50 favorite games of all time. Xenogears is a top 10 game of all time for me. That is one of my favorite stories, not just in games, but in general. I absolutely adore Xenogears. And I loved it so much, I wanted to go out and experience something like it, right? Anything like it. And I would go on, like, any type of message board that there was, or Reddit, or wherever there was recommendations for anything like Xenogears. And I would find, like, the normal, right, like Ava and things of that nature, but I actually found some really cool books and movies that either directly inspired Xenogears or are give you, like, a similar type of feeling. But I really wanted to play a game that gave me a Xenogears-esque feeling. And so when I played Xenogears the second time, which was thanks to a shout out to the Resident Arc podcast, that was when I played through again, and still came out of it even more blown away from the second experience, seeing it with eyes that already knew what was going to happen. Right, that's what makes rewatches so special, or replays so special in this case. Whenever you re-experience anything, but in the case of wanting to find something else like it, I was like, you know what, man, let me continue the journey. And last year, I went out and I played Xenosaga Episode 1. I really enjoyed it, man. I was like, yo, this game absolutely slaps. I love the cast. I love the way the characters were designed. Cosmos. I mean, I was like, yo, this is awesome. But I did not enjoy it as much as Xenogears. But I saw the vision. And I was like, this is a trilogy. This is the first part of 3. Can't wait to see where this all goes from here. So really enjoyed Xenosaga Episode 1. Started up Episode 2, and then got lost along the way. Similar to what happened so many times with so many other series, where something else will drop around the time of it coming out, and it gets so difficult to get back into it. And so I let it just right there. Whenever I come back, I'm going to start Xenosaga Episode 2 from the very beginning. And we're going to rock right up in like somewhere. Because after playing Expedition 33 this year, then I was put in the very same position I was when I finished Xenogears a few years ago, where I was like, dude, I got to experience something like this. You know, I don't care what it is, I just have to experience something that gives me the same feeling as Expedition 33. And the crazy part is, right before that, I had just finished experiencing Final Fantasy X again, which was like the Expedition 33 experience. But I kept seeing other recommendations by people who said, if you like Expedition 33, play this. And what kept coming up is Xenoblade. Not Xenogears, not Xenosaga. You gotta play Xenoblade. So I was like, man, I wanted to play the games in release order. I really did, man. But because Tetsuya Takahashi has constructed it to where, obviously, I'm going to assume with context, Episodes 2 and 3 may have, well, we might see something from that within these games, right? But within my heart, my soul was crying out for Xenoblade Chronicles. And so, on my last hurrah on the Switch, right next to 100 Line, I bought Xenoblade Chronicles, the definitive edition. And son, I absolutely adored this game. This game was everything that I needed at this time. An adventure across the planet, like Expedition 33, we got that. A story that I've been looking for so long, as like anything that made me feel what Xenogears made me feel, we got that. We got that, man. We got that on full display. A story with twists and turns and bullet shoot with their flag darts, make you feel gas, and go raw fire and peak while at the same time make you be like, dang. And then, dang. And then, dang. And the other moments where I'm just like, you know, when you're just staring off in the ceiling after some peak, and you're like, son. I mean, bro, this game had it all. When I looked at the credits, while they were rolling and I was staring off into space, this game's soundtrack, contributors to the soundtrack were Yoko Shimomura and Yasunori Mitsuda. I was like, my, no wonder the music was so gas. I was like, wait a minute. So like, then I started to remember all the great music played in the game. But it's just, it was exactly what I needed, man. A game that's fun in combat, but with an enriching story that I just could not get enough of. I flipping love these characters, man. I do, bro. I do, man. Like, oh. It was just, it came at the perfect time. You know, there's just some things that come at the perfect time where you may have tried either to do it in the past or have mistakenly bought something else thinking that it was it. Like, for me, it was Xenoblade. But this was the perfect time, man. And I while I was playing through the game, especially upon reflection in its pivotal moments, because I was spamming AJ. Shout out to AJ for putting up my spam in a couple key moments. But during certain moments, I was trying to put myself in the shoes of someone who was experiencing this as their first JRPG back on the Wii. And I was like, man, this would have been a groundbreaking, game-changing, generational experience for me. It was already a generational experience for me. But I was trying to put myself in the shoes of someone who, like, let's just say how I was back when I first played Final Fantasy VII, with no other prior knowledge to what a JRPG is. And going into it and coming out of it, right, with like, my goodness, what is this new world that was just opened up to me? There were a lot of people like that for Xenoblade, man. I can't even fathom. Remember when I played Xenogears, I was like, thank God I played this as an adult. Because, man, a lot of that stuff would have went over my head, even though I would have felt it. I would have felt it, but I wouldn't have understood it. And with Xenoblade, so many points that were made, especially in the end game of this game, I kept thinking back to Xenogears, where, number one, as a creator, it was so cool seeing someone's vision. It's like, you know when Jey Uso, for anybody who watches wrestling, you know when Jey Uso comes out and he does his entrance, and everyone's just, you know, they're doing the yeet, they're doing the thing, and then if they get really, really into it, he goes up to the camera, he's like, we're running it back, and they start doing the thing again. That's what this felt like, especially after Chapter 9. I was like, oh my goodness, bro, we're doing this 3 times, right? Because we did it in Xenogears. Xenosaga Episode 1 had so much of just the stuff that I loved about Xenogears. And I was like, oh man, Xenosaga Episode 1 had that. And then Xenoblade was like, oh my goodness, bro, he's running it back, but in a different way. And especially when you get to the end game, I was like, no flipping way. It felt like I was experiencing the perfect works. Where this was, I was like, no, this is crazy. Like, this is actually insane. So my mind was constantly getting blown, both by in-game events and how I was connecting it to the context I had from Xenogears. So like, without that context, I don't know how I would have experienced this, but I don't care, because it is how I experienced it, and it made that so much better, man. So, I mean, it just made the entire experience just truly something I'll never forget. And it was my final Switch 1 experience and first Switch 2 experience, because I transferred my save data, and it was my first game I've completed on the Switch 2. And I'll just tell you, what a special game, man. The characters, my boy Shulk, bro. I finally have context with this character. I kept seeing his Smash Bros, bro. And the crazy part about it is, while I was playing through the game, nothing that besides the map called out to me, and the music that played during the map, the Xenoblade map in Smash. Besides that, there was nothing else that I'm actually looking forward to going back and playing Smash Brothers to see what is in there. I don't remember Shulk's final Smash, so I'm looking forward to seeing what that is now with context. The spirits are in the game. Looking forward to seeing what that is with context, right? So that's going to be fun in and of itself. But I just rock with these characters, man. I mean, you know, Shulk, Dunban, shout out to my boy Shanks for, you know, every great thing has to have a Shanks character, and man, shout out to Dunban, bro. What a character, man. Ryan and Charla and Melia. You know, I don't want to mention a certain character because, you know, this is a spoiler-free section. But it just, what a game, man. What a game. Ricky was so much fun as a character. Shout out to Big Ricky. But man, dude, flip it. Man, and it just, it couldn't have come at a better time, like I said. And so if you are thinking about getting into this franchise, whether you're doing it like me and you're playing it in release order, or you want to start with Xenoblade 1, what a great game, man. Seriously, what a great game. And I'm so unbelievably excited for what is going to be the rest of this journey with Chronicles 2, Chronicles 3, going back and playing Chronicles X again, as well as the journey of finishing Saga 2 and Saga 3. But that'll be it for the spoiler-free section, man, because I can't take it anymore. So once again, if you're in for some Go Raw Fire and Peak, if you speak the universal language, and you're looking for a game that has that, maybe you've already finished that Trails of Greatness, you've run out of your Final Fantasy games, and you're like, man, what in the world do I experience next? Monolith Soft got you covered, man. We got you covered. End of the spoiler-free section. In 3, 2, 1. You know, I was really enjoying this game. The first 8 chapters, solid stuff. Solid stuff. Especially, I was talking to this with AJ in the podcast, but after I played Dragon Quest III Remake last year, I was in such a mood to play an adventure game where you like roam across the map, because that game's, the adventure aspect of Dragon Quest III is I love it. It's the best, man. And so it really got me in the mood to just traverse the planet. And like earlier that year, playing Rebirth, right, and playing Metaphor, I was like, man, these things that make you go through the entire map is just, I love it. And then playing Expedition 33, I was like, man, I love these types of games. It just reminded me why I love JRPGs. Or one of the reasons why I love JRPGs. Another major reason, maybe the major reason, is what we'll talk about here in a second with the story. But I was really looking for like an adventure, and this game just provided that on full display. But when you start the game and that first cutscene plays, I was immediately like, sweet mother of flaggers, this is crazy. And with context, it's like, man, it's like Xenogears, right? First scene in that game makes 0 sense. You look at that thing on a replay when you first, or at least what happened to me, bro. When I first finished Xenogears and I went back to the first cutscene in the game, my mind was flipping blown. I was like, there is no, what? What? Bro, crazy. And I have a feeling that's exactly how it's going to be when I play Xenoblade again. Because I remember the first couple of scenes in Xenoblade, just really, I was like, what in the world is going on? And even with context while I was playing the game, I was like, oh, that's why that was the focus at the beginning. So I can't wait to go back and play the beginning of the game, just to see. But then after that, obviously the major big thing that happens is whenever the colony gets attacked, and then you see what the Mechon does to Fiora. And immediately I was like, man, this is some heavy stuff early in the game. And I kept thinking back, I was like, bro, this is a Wii game, you know, like crazy. Could you imagine? I was putting myself in their shoes, like, man, you know, I remember when a certain character died and I was young and I was like, man, I'm still heartbroken to this day, you know what I'm saying? So it's like, man, imagine somebody being on the Wii, bro. They're like 10 years old, 15 years old, and Fiora dies. Like, bro, what's going on? It's like, oh, what's happening? So that starts the quest. You start meeting the characters. You get all of their individual stories. And I was like, okay, very standard stuff. I'm enjoying it. But once I hit chapter 9, man, the Melia stuff, Kali and all of that, you get to Prison Island. Brother, from then on until the end of the game, it's nothing but flipping peak, man. And there's gonna be a few things I'm gonna leave out because I just don't remember at this point in time because of how much greatness I've experienced the past couple of weeks. But Prison Island, the Zanza, the Monado being, all of that, I was like, dude, I'm locked in. But when you see Fiora again, I genuinely was not expecting that because once again, when Fiora died at the beginning of the game, I was like, oh, that's it. Like, this is the reason for the season. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's it. This is our purpose for going out and doing this. But when I saw Fiora again, I was like, oh my God, what are we cooking? And then when she was wearing what she was wearing, I was like, immediately I started thinking about Xenogears. You know? I was like, what are we cooking here, bro? What are we cooking? And so I was like, oh my goodness. So that immediately started up of like my head going crazy, and then it started spinning. I was theorizing. I felt like I was reading a One Piece chapter, man. I was like, holy sweet mother of flaggers, this is nuts. This is flipping nuts. And so you get all the craziness there, go raw fire peak, you know, Shulk up in like somewhere, get that Flagnard out of there. We get out of chapter 9. Melia comes with us. And I was like, there's something cooking here in the background. I can't see it. I don't know. So we follow that up. We had the big battles, right? With some of the Mechon, with flipping Flagnards. What was his name? The first dude, bro. The dude the face Mechon. I forgot what his name was. Starts with an M. Regardless, you get to get more from him and what these individuals actually are, which is they aren't just these giant robot individuals that have like some sort of sentience. These are actual beings that are inside of these Mechon, right? Or inside of these robots, and I was like Xenogears. I was like Trails of Cold Steel. So I was like, okay, man, am I gonna get a robot later in this game? Let's let it go. Let's let it go. So you have the fight with him, and that entire sequence was so incredibly special, man. I loved how in his finale, I keep forgetting his name. It starts with an M, bro. Mumkar, I think that was his name. Mumkar, the face Mechon. In his final moment, whenever you have that final matchup with Shulk, it's actually Mumkar's own weaknesses as a human that actually got him killed. Because if he wouldn't have moved forward, that thing doesn't land on him, right? And I was like, oh, that's genius. The consequences of your own actions coming back to bite you. I was like, yo, let's go. Right? So, good stuff there. Obviously, we're continuing to build up. Like, what is this mystery with Fiora? You get to find out that there's another being inside of her, and it's like, what are we cooking there, man? Obviously, it turned out to be Maineth. What a legend. But you're getting closer to the Eagle thing and trying to figure out who this individual is. And so all that craziness happens. The Gato thing, which obviously had a massive connection to Sharla, and that was all extremely emotional stuff. I was like, man, this is crazy. Yeah, I mean, it was just back to back to back. Oh, how could I forget? Dude, the chapter, I think it was chapter 12 or 11, one of those, which was the chapter when you go over and you're walking on the beach solo dolo. It reminded me of chapter 7. I think it's chapter 7 of Mother 3, where that's like the shortest chapter in the game, but it encapsulates everything that makes the game so special, right? And like it's similar to like a fragment section in Trails in a different way, where it's a short thing, but it captures everything, right? Like it's just everything that makes that particular piece of fiction really special, that one thing, right? And so going through, I think it was chapter 12, when you have the beach scene and the solo dolo conversations, I was like, man, I am here, bro. Like this is really reminiscent of some of my favorites right here. So you finish that, all that craziness you talked about happened, and then you go to Box Eagle. I think that was in chapter 14 or 15, whatever it was. And while you're going into the Mechonis capital, you're figuring out exactly what the truth is behind the Mechonis and the Bionis, leading into what I was talking about with like the first parts in the game. I was like, mother flipping Flagnards, this is nuts. Going into creation and what this war between these two individuals caused, that the Bionis was going to call all these individuals back one day. I was like, oh man, we're getting into what it means to be a god and all the really cool stuff about Xenogears. I'm flipping here, man. I'm here! So that's when I was really like, oh no, this is becoming some all-time stuff. But then you go to Box Eagle, and I messaged AJ. I was like, bro, this is the end. Like, this is it, baby. This is the final battle. You go up there and you start boxing, man. And then once you take out Eagle, bro, because I was like, yo, there's still something off here. Like, we don't know the truth about Shulk. What is the deal with the flashbacks? What's his name? Flipping Flagnard's mustache, man. Bandana, yellow hair. Oh, I'm gonna look it up. I'll be right back. Dixon, bro. Flipping Dixon. Son. Bro, this is when I was up, man. This is when I was like, yo, holy Flagnard. So you boxed an Eagle, man. Like I said, I thought this was the end of the game, bro. Especially with how everything had been building up until that point. But I think the brilliant part about this is that just like I felt that could have been at the end of the game, there was just so many unanswered questions where it just didn't make any sense. So when this dude Dixon, who up until this point have been very shady. Both Dixon and Alvis, I had kept an eye on them until the course of the game. I was like, bro, I've played too many of these types of games, man. Someone's gonna be a betrayal. Someone is gonna betray someone. It's gonna cause some chaos, bro. I was just waiting. I was waiting for it. And so, in the midst of Shulk, through the course of the game, having all these observation hockey visions, which in and of itself as a concept is super cool, I was like, what is it all going to lead towards? Dude, this man Dixon shoots Shulk in the back, hits him on like a Netero line. I was like, what in the world is going on? I was going crazy, bro. And it's at that moment the entire game starts making sense, man. Like, everything just falls into place. As you get to find out, this dude Shulk, similar to what happened with Fiora, was a dead vessel, dude. An individual that was just being primed to be taken over by flipping Zanza, man. And it's like what, dude? So this man comes out rocking not just one Monado, but after he boxes, bro, when he was boxing Mayneth, I was up, bro. I was like, yo, these are two Yonkos. This was flipping Shanks and Blackbeard, bro. This was Kaido, you know? I was like, yeah! Like, bro, these boys are boxing. So Mayneth, the individual who's been winning, you know, for all this time, has been winning the war of attrition, quote unquote, right? Because Zanza's been doing all this just to attempt to get back at Mayneth. Just to attempt to be able to come back at Mayneth, right? Comes back, immediately runs the ones. Both of them start boxing. So immediately, for me, I'm getting the best of both worlds. Best of what I love in my series, right? I got the Goat Raw Fire Peak happening with the boxing. Well, the back of my mind's going absolutely insane, being like, yo, what does this all mean thematically? What does this all mean for the story? What does this all mean for where we're gonna go from here? Game cuts. The game flipping cuts, man. Oh my god. You no longer play as Shulk, bro. This man is gone. He's gone. Even Bionis starts moving. You learn the truth about Telethia. I was like, oh man. True Xenogears moment right there. Man. You go back with Fiora and Melia, bro. I was like, oh, dude, Melia said? Oh man, because right after what happened with her brother, obviously, I was like, man, what are we gonna do? What is gonna happen with this character? What was the sense of this plot line of like everything of them coming in and building this alliance, right, and things of that nature. And so when they come in, they just get bodied, slashed, get turned into Telethia, and then in that moment, when she looks up and sees her brother getting turned into Telethia, and you understand, oh, she's not turning into it because she's a half-breed. What she was being ostracized for is the reason why she is not being turned into this thing. And I was like, oh, that's why they emphasized that. That's why they were so on, like, non-stop referring to that back in what was that, chapter 8, chapter 9, whatever that was. It's like, oh, that makes so much sense, man. And so, them having that knowledge, that happening, I kept remembering that Albus was in part of that too. I was like, yo, what is that leading to? And you see flipping Albus and Shulk in space, bro. That's what I was really like, yo, what is this game? I was like, is Albus gonna pull a Tifa right now, bro? What is going on, man? Got a really cool moment, but then you get to see Shulk just truly come back and into his own, and I was like, oh man, this is a true my MC moment right here, man. You know, so you get to see him have some really powerful lines of dialogue there and some super cool stuff. Like, yo, we're not gonna let them have their way, you know, friendship top one, you know what I'm saying? I was like, yo, well, we're in there like somewhere, man. But yo, when Shulk comes back, because they're in the middle, and the crazy part about it is, you know, fighting without Shulk, it made me realize, like, man, it's like whenever I was fighting without Reen and Trails, I was like, bro, like, I miss having this flipping character. I mean, he's my powerhouse. Same thing with Shulk. It's like, bro, not being able to box some of those things without Shulk was like, man, this is tough, dude. Like, it's tougher than I thought it was gonna be. So you go into this gauntlet, and man, yo, when Shulk came back, I was like, number one, my run is saved. I was like, let's go. The dude is back. But from a character standpoint, I was like, yes, man, like, let's go. That's my guy. That's my guy. And so all that craziness happens, and then we get to the final chapter, which is the thing that's most fresh in my mind, right? Because that's stuff that I just finished over the course of the last 2 days. And man, the final dungeon was so cool. Well, the entire multi-piece final dungeon, right? With like, you start off in the heart, go in and you're boxing Lorithia and all this and all of the other things that are in there. Prison Island over there with Dixon, and all that was special, man. But I was wondering, where is this all leading towards? What are we going? Because the writing's on the wall for something truly special, and I've already gone through this before with Xenogears. Like I know that when the ending is gonna pull this all together, right? Oh man, the moment that we cut over to Zanza in space, son. Bro. Yo, man. When we go over to Zanza in space, man. Because like I said, throughout the course of the game, I was, especially after a certain point, I wanted to know what's the Takahashi thing? You know, I see it all over the place. But what is the central point? You know, where is this all going? Brother, when I saw him in space, I was like, no, it was just like at that point, the Shulk scenes in space, him being up there in space, I was like, wait a minute. He's here. He's up here. Does that mean we're going up there? Because then we got his vision of everything that was about to happen. And then it was the party versus him. And the vision stops. And Zanza's like, what in the Flying Flyers? Why can't I see past a certain point? And I was like, oh, wait, does that mean we're coming here? So after you do all the things. Bro, when I arrived in space, and it said Saturn found, I got up and walked around the room for a little while. One of the coolest final areas ever. And it hits extremely, and I mean exponentially different. Now that I have context from Tetsuya Takahashi's other works, my mind was going all over the place. I was like, bro, what does this mean? And you start boxing the spirits of the individuals you've been fighting up until this point. I was like, oh, this is truly the final part. And I can't tell you how awesome that final battle was. But when you go from Saturn to Jupiter to Mars, and then you get to the point where you see the planet, and it's the first time the characters see the planet. It's like, oh, what is that blue orb? It looks so beautiful. It reminded me of Metal Gear, man. Dude, oh, and I don't want to spoil anybody for one of those games. I'm not going to talk about which game it is, but there is a Metal Gear game where one of the characters has like a truly eye-opening moment because they saw space. And particularly they saw Mother Earth from space. And I was like, oh man. And then that's when Zanza pops out. And it's like, we're getting such a cool like 3-phase boss battle, man, which has the best hype moment in the game, where in the midst of I think it was the second battle, everybody gets knocked on, or at least like the way that it transitions is knocks everybody on the floor. You see Fiora and Flip and Shulk, and they're just, I mean, it was beautiful. They're just going around, pa, 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 pa. Like, yo, humanity this, and we ain't gonna let you do that, and yo, screw y'all. And I was like, yes, 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 humanity. Let me go. So this man gets a brand new Monado, and I had a feeling, I thought this is where we're gonna go, but the way that it was done was like, oh man, this is brilliant. Because when I saw the way that Shulk was able to make his Monado, it was sort of, oh, is this how the other Monados were made as well, right? Was it their will, the strength of their will to either A, fight for their purpose, or for those that they care about that created this thing? Because Shulk kept saying time and time again, it came from within, right? This is something that came from within, is the power of humanity. So all of that was so extremely special. And that final form of the Monado, man, and the way it gets so much stronger that you obliterate the third phase of that boss, it is so good, man. Or fourth phase, whatever. What the final phase, that man got pwned. Him and the other Guardians, they got destroyed. They got absolutely destroyed in an awesome boss battle. One of the coolest things, man. But what happens after the boss battle is truly what made Xenoblade like an all-timer for me. And I don't even remember what order this all happens in, so I'm just going to spit out a bunch of stuff that I recall, man. And that just really stood out to me. When Zanza goes down, and you think back to the line that Maynard said about, to create a world where there is no need for gods. Because when Maynard said that, I was so curious as to where that was going to go. And then you get that. You get that final line. You get that final moment where he calls back to it in Zanza. And Shulk, he does the thing, jumping, yelling out in an awesome speech. It's like, yo, we have no need for you. We got no need for you right now, son. This is my choice. And we call back to the spooky line when we first enter the space part, that Alvis is like, man, there's going to come a point in time where you have to make a choice. And then Alvis pops up, and this spooked me as a Xenogears fan. He pops up in a little green thing, and I was like, what are we doing? So we get that moment. Obviously, it's a JRPG meme at this point. I even memed it a few weeks ago with like what's happening right now in One Piece right now, with like the two fight gods at the end of JRPGs, right? But the way that Tetsuya Takahashi handles that concept is so incredibly interesting to me, especially whenever you reach the end of the games that I've reached so far, right? Because it truly does feel like a creator versus their creations situation. And in this particular case, it is that within the realm and the confines and the context of the story. These individuals feed off of their energy. They exist to eventually come back to this thing, to their creator. So they are going against their DNA, what they were created for, as they go in to take this thing out. And what's so fascinating about that is the way the new universe was created was done in a very similar way. Where Zanza, and once again, kept thinking back to Takahashi's other works, but when you enter the satellite, and you see how him and Maynard originally were, and he found this new discovery, as Albus called it, a simple curiosity. And that one thing caused a brand new universe. And the way that was created, the way that was shown, I remember with Stone Ocean, I was like, oh, this is so cool, man. It's so incredibly cool. But you get to see how the new universe is created. And you see it through Shulk's eyes as he's standing next to Alvis. And then you get my favorite scene in the entire game, which talks about the beauty of being alive. Very Final Fantasy IX, very Final Fantasy VII, where you get an entire recreation of how the world came to be that Alvis presents to Shulk. And then you have each of the characters, Ryan, Dunban, Fiora, Sharla, Melia, Ricky. They all start talking about the beauty of life. The uncertainties, the unknowns, the struggles, the everyday. How all of that makes life beautiful. Dude, that entire scene, it hits so hard because of the context. You just finished fighting your creator. You just finished fighting the individual who created this world. the individuals that created this world in this endless power struggle, right? They just did the impossible. And they did it to protect the everyday. And when I saw that be the key final message that Tetsuya Takahashi wanted to say with this game, it made each and every single thing that happened in the game up until this point immediately elevate. Because I remember back to each and every single one of their character stories and how it had to do with either them losing someone, them failing at some point, some sort of setback that caused them to go out and go out on the journey. But having this made them appreciate the mundaneness of life, those little small moments in life. And so when you go from the biggest possible thing in a space battle against your creator, and your takeaway is the beauty of the small things in your everyday life, that hand in hand go together so incredibly well. And the way that it was executed was genius. And it all ties in with the future in both that scene and the very final line in the game with Fiora and Shulk about the future. We have no idea what the future will have in store. We believe in not only the future, our future selves, but also the future that humanity will choose. A very Final Fantasy VII-esque thing. And I was like, bro, how flippin' beautiful is that, man? How beautiful is that? And that entire scene just visually, the way it was presented, the execution of it, it was all like, wow, man. I mean, what a powerful thing to say after all of that. From an individual who's not even supposed to be alive. Two individuals who are not supposed to be alive. With Shulk and Fiora, but they are alive. But they are alive. And so that truly hits home coming from them. And it's just so incredibly beautiful, man. And Albus, of course, talks about the fact that he is a machine to them and from this thing. And I was like, oh, Takahashi, man, you flipping. You're black, dog. Like, yo, he's just so on point when it comes to that type of stuff. Like this individual who's traveled from that old universe until now, through the means of that machine-like computer program thing that is like a godlike entity in this new universe, is so incredibly fascinating from like a philosophical standpoint. And it's reminded me so much of Takahashi's other works as well, like I said. But I think the reason why so much of this stuff always hits, no matter what in what way I receive it in any type of story, is because I like probably many of you grew up in a religious household, and I'm someone who I still am religious, but I always love whenever what I was led to believe in any sort of sense can be challenged. I love being challenged, number one, just in general in life. But I love being challenged in regards to the things that I believe, the things that I know, the things that could be, the reality that could be. And I think that's why this type of stuff is so interesting to me. Because I am someone who is just unbounded. The limits of my interest in this knows no bounds. In where we came from, who we are, what our purpose is. And all of the games that I've played from Tetsuya Takahashi explore those. And does so in just such a cool way. And so, because of all of that, when you get stuff like what you have here at the end of this game, it allows it to have an extremely personal connection. And it truly allowed me, similar to like I said, whenever I first finished Xenogears, is I came out of it like, oh man. Like I truly was able to see certain things that answer one of those three questions in a completely different way. And it allowed me to have a whole new perspective that sort of allowed me to take a step back and really think and ponder about this stuff. And so when I finished this game, and as the credits were rolling and I was thinking back to what these characters were saying and what Takahashi was going for at the end of this game, similar to what happened when I finished Xenogears, I was like, man, oh man, he's done it again. He's done it again in a really powerful way. And I always appreciate when a work is able to make me do this, to make me reflect, to make me think about one of those 3 questions. Because I believe all of us are fascinated by the unknown. And there is no greater unknown than the beginning and the end of life itself, of our lives as individuals. And so when you have works that explore that, either one of those or both, it always allows it to truly feel human. And with a work that was all about human versus creator in Xenoblade Chronicles, and with a work that immediately made me think back to Takahashi's repetitive nature as a creator to want to tackle upon these things time and time again, it really allows the moment when Zanza goes in and resets the verse and creates a new one. It made it hit differently, because I believe Takahashi put himself in those shoes, where he had to start over again as a creator of his own work and see it all happen and see how his creation outsmarted him on every step of the way and created something that he never thought was possible. Because I am also a creator. I'm also an individual who writes stories. And I know that I come in with a plan for every single story I've ever attempted to write. And my characters always end up outdoing me. They always end up doing things better than I could have ever imagined, surpassing the creator in every way. And so in that way, it is a very meta type of thing that we get through at the end of the game, where I can appreciate it both as an individual who just lives life, but also as someone in the space of creation. Because it is extremely beautiful when you're able to put yourself in those shoes. And once again, I'm able to see how he as a creator was able to put himself within the shoes of his major antagonist in such a beautiful way, while also putting humanity and the beauty of what it means to be human once again at the forefront, and just allow it to nail and hit home as hard as it does in this game. And like I was referring to earlier with this game being on the Wii, I don't know how I would have reacted to this game had I played this game when I first had the Wii. But I'm so glad I got to play it here and now, with the context that I have, with my experiences that I've had in my entire existence, but also within the stories that I've been able to read, watch, play, or whatever. Because it allows these types of moments to truly have a lot of weight, because there is a level of finality to them. You know, these things don't grow on trees. The stories that truly resonate with you on a personal level, those don't grow on trees, man. You gotta go out and search for those. And anytime you do find one of them, you get an endless appetite to go out and find another one that could potentially fill that hole that the last one just left behind, right? It's an endless cycle. But this game, when it's able to delve into those types of topics that are so incredibly interesting and personal to me, in the lines of creation, like I said, both as an individual who is spiritual and also an individual who is a creator myself, it hits home. And coming off of Expedition 33, which also talked about the very similar things, and an FF7 remake trilogy that is currently talking about the very same things, and Metaphor Fantasio, that was delving into some of those topics as being like the previous experiences that reminded me of something like this. This was just a really, really special game, and I can't wait to continue the journey, because now I see that Tetsuya Takahashi, similar to Hideo Kojima, is an individual who loves exploring things not just in repetition, but also loves exploring different types of things within that repetition. And what I mean by repetition is similar to like One Piece or Trails, or here with the Xeno series. There's certain things you can only get that I feel as a creator you can only get across if you tell a similar type of story more than once. Because when you're able to do that, you're able to not only just elevate both of them potentially while having that exploration through repetition, but you're also able to dive into topics like this because you have the context of what came beforehand. It's what allows the dynamic of A and B to hit so hard in anything that you experience, because there is that level of you kind of know what to expect whenever you're going into it. And so that was such a beautiful thing for me coming into this game, and I'm even more excited to see what ends up happening with Chronicles 2, Chronicles 3, and Saga 2 and Saga 3. Because just seeing what he's done with Xenosaga Episode 1, with Xenogears, with Xenoblade 1, it has me so interested in seeing where he is as a creator in whatever year Chronicles 2 came out, like 2017, whatever it was, 2018. Where was he as a creator? What did he feel like exploring? What was eating away at him? Because Takahashi truly feels like a creator. Him and his team, that they always explore what they can't get out of their minds, or they can't get out of their hearts, or they can't get out of their souls. And because of that, it truly ends up resonating with who we are as people. And so I can't wait for Chronicles 2. I'm unbelievably excited to play through that. I haven't done the future story stuff, but I just had to record this because upon the credits, man, it was just like I said, that was some really, really, really amazing stuff. And I had to talk about it in some way, shape, or form. You know what I'm saying? It was just one of those things. And so my favorite things, man, I'm a very simple individual. You give me go raw fire and peak hype, and you also really make me reflect and think on certain things, or you make me extremely emotional, whatever it is, right? Like it's going to be considered a great for me. And this is obviously among those. Just a fantastic, fantastic game. And I just, the Wii, this game launched on the Wii, bro, on the Wii. It's like, and I put all the PS1 RPGs together that went into a lot of stuff like this, right? Because, you know, that's just what the console expectations were. But the Wii, like, man, Takahashi, you're a madman. You're a madman. What an amazing, amazing individual. And the most awesome part about it is it also fits. It also really fits in the way that he was able to translate this type of story to fit the confines of the Wii. It just fit, man. It's once again the same way that he did everything that he possibly could to tell a thought-provoking story instead of a battle shonen-esque Gundam anime, which is what Xenogears is. That's what he once again did with this game, and it's can't wait to see what he does with Chronicles 2, man. I'm so excited. Man, what a special game. But yo, let me know what y'all thought about this game in the comments down below, as well as anything that you would like to add on to what we've discussed here in this particular ramble session here. But just seriously, what an awesome game. And my mind is just still in a jumble. I know I forgot about a lot of things, but that's just what has been at the center of what I can't stop thinking about in regards to this game. The twists, the turns, the themes, what the game was going for at the end, and I'm in awe, man. I'm in awe. What a great experience. So thank you so much for watching. Take care. I gotta go play Smash now, man. One more thing I forgot to talk about, yo. One more thing. So in the final scene, whenever all the characters like after everything happens, you spawn as a character, and you're like, whose eyes am I viewing this world through? This brand new world that has been created by Shulk, right? The world that has no need, right, for gods. I was like, man, I can't wait to see what all this ends up being. Obviously, everything's in harmony. They don't know if it's always going to be that way, but they hope for that to be the case, right? But it was so incredibly beautiful for us to follow this through the lens of Fiora, as we don't know who this character is that we're following through the entire final part right there, right? So go over to Dunban, you see how everybody's talking together and stuff, the world's been saved. They're referencing the other characters like Mayneth and Eagle and stuff. And then we cut back and we see our party members. But it just reminded me of that scene, right, of that took place with Shulk whenever he's having the conversation with Albus about like the beauty and the mundanity of life and the everyday things, and how much more beautiful than the final scene of this game, having Ryan going out and fishing, getting into shenanigans, Charlotte back relaxing, everybody just having fun, and then Shulk and Fiora having a conversation on the beach. It's like, yo, that is the beauty of life. And then when they have their conversation, and it goes back to that scene, right, with whenever Shulk's having what we were just talking about, and then for the game to finish on the thing about the future, and it was just, and the music, bro. Did I mention how amazing the music in this game is? The music in this game is absolutely flipping goated, bro. And it is like that. It just is. Whenever you have legends working on the game, it's gonna have some really good music. But man, that final, I gotta know what that track is that played at the end of the game. That thing was reaching the soul. It reminded me of the song that plays at the end of Xenogears, man, where I was in tears. I was like, man, this is hitting the soul. But just how beautiful is that, man, for the game to touch upon the beauty of the everyday there in the final scene, really going for what it is, right, that truly makes living life so special. I just want to talk about that because that was me.